Imagine this. Your entire life today is nothing more than the sum of tiny habits you've repeated, most of them unconsciously. The way you wake up, the way you think, the way you act shaped not by massive decisions, but by small, almost invisible choices, stacked together over time. Now here's the shocking truth. Just a 1% shift in your daily habits could completely transform your future or quietly destroy it. Success and failure are not determined by one big event, but by what you choose to do every single day. This is the hidden power of atomic habits. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Book Podcast Zone. I'm Emma, your guide through today's deep dive.
And I'm John, ready to help unpack the layers of insight. It's great to have you with us.
Today, we're embarking on a truly, potentially life-changing journey. We've gathered a whole stack of sources, all revolving around James Clear's really groundbreaking work, Atomic Habits.
Yeah, it's really made waves, hasn't it?
It really has. And our mission, for you listening, is to basically distill the core wisdom from all this material. We want to give you a shortcut, to being incredibly well-informed on the science of habit formation.
And more than just informed, right? We want to uncover some of those surprising facts, maybe things you haven't heard before, and really help you grasp what's most important without getting totally bogged down in detail.
Exactly. No information overload here. We're going deep, yes, but aiming for clarity. We're going to explore these profound, often invisible forces that are shaping our lives every single day.
That's right. This isn't just about summarizing a book. It's about understanding a framework that honestly can fundamentally alter your trajectory if you apply it. We'll look at how these tiny, seemingly insignificant daily choices can, and actually do, create monumental change over time.
So yeah, get ready. It's going to be a thorough, detailed exploration, really designed for you if you're the kind of learner who craves that deep understanding.
Let's dive in.
The surprising power of atomic habits.
Okay, so John, right off the bat, Clear challenges how we usually think about making big changes, doesn't he? He talks about this surprising power of atomic habits.
He absolutely does, and it's such a fundamental reframing. We're kind of wired, I think, to believe that if you want a big result, you need this massive, heroic effort, like a total life overhaul overnight.
Right. The New Year's resolution effect that fizzles out by February.
Exactly. But Clear just flips that completely. He argues the real power, the real leverage, is in these tiny shifts, these atomic habits, small like an atom, but also the source of immense power, like atomic energy.
Oh, okay. I like that dual meaning.
Yeah, and they compound. That's the key. It's like he uses the metaphor of money in a bank account earning compound interest. A small amount, growing steadily, eventually becomes this huge sum. It seems slow at first, almost invisible.
Although it suddenly isn't. It hits that exponential curve.
Precisely. Small habits, repeated consistently, deliver these disproportionately large results down the line. But it requires patience.
It really does go against our grain, though. We want the quick fix, the instant results.
We do. We crave that immediate gratification. But the real superpower, according to Clear, is in the incremental. And he illustrates this so well with the story of the British cycling team.
Oh, this is a great example. Tell us about that.
Well, back in the early 2000s, British cycling was, well, let's just say they weren't exactly setting the world on fire.
That's putting it mildly. They hadn't won a Tour de France in, what, over a century?
Something like that, yeah. They were basically mediocre. But then they brought in a new performance director, Dave Brailsford, and he introduced this philosophy he called the aggregation of marginal gains.
Aggregation of marginal gains. Sounds fancy, but what did it actually mean in practice?
It meant finding a tiny 1% improvement in everything they did. Seriously, everything. Not just the obvious stuff like, tweaking the bike seats for better ergonomics or testing different massage gels for faster muscle recovery.
Which you'd expect, right?
Of course. But they went way beyond that. They looked at the kind of pillows and mattresses each rider used to optimize sleep quality. They tested fabrics in wind tunnels to find slightly lighter, more aerodynamic racing suits.
Okay, getting pretty detailed now.
Oh, it gets better. They even hired a surgeon to teach the team the best way to wash their hands to minimize the risk of infections and cold spreading.
Wow. Hand washing. That seems incredibly minor.
It does. Each one of these things, taken in isolation, seems almost insignificant. A tiny 1% tweak here, a 1% improvement there. What difference could it possibly make?
But that's the point, right? It wasn't about one single change.
Exactly. It was the aggregation. All these tiny gains stacked on top of each other across every single area they could think of. And the results? They were absolutely staggering.
Yeah, they went from being also-rans to completely dominating the sport. Olympic gold medals, multiple Tour de France victories within just a few years.
Unbelievable results, really. It was this dramatic proof that consistent, tiny improvements, when combined, lead to massive breakthroughs. It wasn't one magic bullet, it was hundreds of tiny improvements accumulating.
So how does that translate to us, regular people in 2025, maybe living here in the US?
Yep.
We're not exactly optimizing pillows for Olympic gold.
Well, think about something really common now. Fitness trackers. Millions of Americans wear an Apple Watch, a Fitbit, or use apps like MyFitnessPal on their phones.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
What do these devices fundamentally do? They don't usually scream at you to run a marathon tomorrow morning. Instead, they encourage small, consistent, daily actions. They track your steps, your active minutes, maybe remind you to stand up.
Right. It feels really small, like, okay, I walked an extra 1,000 steps today. Doesn't feel like a huge achievement in the moment.
Exactly. That extra 1,000 steps, or maybe choosing the stairs instead of the elevator, it seems insignificant. But you do that consistently, day after day, week after week. That compounds. Those popular apps like Apple Health tracking your movement trends or MyFitnessPal nudging you to log your meals consistently, they leverage this exact principle.
They make the small wins visible.
They do, and that helps you bridge what Clear calls the valley of disappointment.
Ah, yes, the valley of disappointment. Explain that a bit.
That's that frustrating phase where you are making these small 1% improvements. Maybe you're eating slightly better, meditating for 2 minutes, walking those extra steps, but you're not seeing the big results yet. The scale isn't moving. You don't feel dramatically different.
And that's where most people give up, right? Because it feels like it's not working.
Precisely. Because the progress is happening, but it's under the surface, like that compounding interest. It hasn't hit the steep part of the curve yet. So Clear emphasizes focusing on systems over goals.
Okay, systems over goals. What's the distinction there?
A goal is the outcome you want to achieve. Lose 20 pounds, write a book, run a marathon. A system is the process, the daily habits that will lead you to that outcome. Like, I will exercise for 30 minutes every weekday, or I will write 500 words every morning.
So the goal is the destination. The system is the vehicle.
Kind of, yeah. Clear argues that winners and losers often have the same goals. Everyone wants to win the championship. What differentiates them is their commitment to the daily systems, the consistent practice. If you focus only on the goal, you're basically in a state of failure until you reach it.
Right. That feels pretty demotivating.
But if you focus on the system just showing up and doing the reps, making that 1% improvement today, you succeed every time you execute the system. You get that satisfaction of progress daily, even if the big goal is still far off.
That makes sense. It shifts the focus from a distant, potentially overwhelming outcome to the immediate, controllable action.
Exactly. And it requires patience through that valley. You have to trust the process, trust that the compounding is happening, even when you can't see it yet.
So the key takeaway here is really about embracing the small things, isn't it? Start small today, focus on your systems, be patient.
And watch your future self thank you as those tiny habits compound and become your superpower. It really is a fundamental shift in perspective.
It is. Really powerful stuff to start with. Okay, if you're finding these insights helpful already, maybe take a second to like, subscribe, or share this deep dive. It helps others find it too. And we'll keep going.
How your habits shape your identity, and vice versa.
Okay, so we've talked about how tiny habits create big results externally. But Clear takes it a step further, doesn't he? He delves into something I think even deeper. How your habits actually shape who you are, your identity.
Yes, this is, for me, one of the most profound parts of the book. It's this idea that your habits and your identity are in this constant, dynamic dance. Every action you take, no matter how small, is essentially a vote cast for the type of person you wish to become.
A vote. Explain that analogy.
Think about someone who wants to become a runner but currently thinks, I'm not a runner. That's their identity. They might hate running, feel awkward doing it.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Right. But then they decide to start incredibly small, maybe just putting on their running shoes and walking around the block every morning. The next week, maybe they jog for 2 minutes. Each time they do that, even that tiny action, they are casting a vote that says, maybe I am someone who runs.
So it's like building evidence for a new identity.
Exactly. One run doesn't magically change your identity. But as the votes pile up, as the evidence accumulates through consistent action, the identity starts to shift. They go from I'm not a runner to I sometimes run to I'm a runner, and maybe eventually even I'm an athlete. The identity follows the accumulated actions.
So true change isn't just about changing what you do, it's about changing how you see yourself. It starts from the inside out, or maybe outside in this case.
It's really a feedback loop. Actions shape identity, and then that emerging identity makes the actions easier. If you start seeing yourself as a runner, getting out the door for a run becomes congruent with who you are rather than a battle against your self-image.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just white-knuckling it. It's becoming the person for whom that habit is natural.
Precisely. And this idea has roots. If you look back at psychological studies from the mid-20th century on self-perception, researchers like Daryl Bem were already exploring how our actions influence our attitudes and beliefs about ourselves. We observe our own behavior and infer our identity from it. Clear really builds on that foundation.
It's powerful. And you see this playing out everywhere today,
Yeah.
especially, I think, with the rise of online creators and influencers.
Oh, absolutely. Take say, a popular food blogger or YouTube chef based here in the US. Their entire brand, their identity as a culinary expert or passionate home cook is built on and reinforced by their daily habits.
Right, posting new recipes, filming tutorials, sharing their kitchen experiments.
Every single day, each post, each video isn't just content for their audience. It's another vote solidifying their identity as a creator, as a chef. That consistency builds the identity, both for them and their followers. Their empire is literally constructed habit by habit, vote by vote.
So Clear's advice here is really practical then. It's about first deciding the type of person you want to be.
Yes. Start with identity. Who is the person who achieves the goals you want to achieve? What do they do every day?
Okay, so maybe you want to be a healthy person or a productive writer or a knowledgeable person.
Right. And then you prove it to yourself with small wins. Tiny, consistent actions that align with that desired identity. Each small win is a vote, reinforcing that belief. It's not about sweeping declarations, it's about accumulating evidence.
It really feels like a call to action, doesn't it? Like
Okay.
you have the power to redefine yourself, one tiny habit, one vote at a time.
It really does. The implication is profound. You're not just chasing outcomes like losing weight or finishing a project. You're actively becoming the kind of person who achieves those things naturally.
So the key takeaway is, don't just chase outcomes, become the change you seek. Wow.
How to build better habits in 4 simple steps.
Okay, so we understand the power of small habits and the link to identity. But how do we actually build these things? This is where Clear gets super practical, right? He offers this 4-step framework.
Yes, and it's brilliantly simple. It feels almost like a cheat code for hacking your own behavior once you understand it. He breaks down the entire process of any habit into 4 fundamental stages: cue, craving, response, and reward.
Cue, craving, response, reward. Okay, walk us through that loop, maybe with an everyday example.
Sure. Let's take the habit of checking your phone constantly. The cue might be your phone buzzing or vibrating on the table, or maybe just seeing it sitting there, or even just a moment of boredom.
Okay, that's the trigger.
Right. That cue triggers a craving. You feel that pull, that desire for connection or for information,
Yeah.
or maybe just a hit of dopamine, a distraction from whatever you're doing. You want to know who messaged, what's new on social media.
That internal urge. Got it.
Then comes the response. That's the actual habit itself. Picking up the phone, unlocking it, opening an app, scrolling.
The action you take.
Exactly. And finally, the reward. You get that little hit of satisfaction, maybe see a notification you were expecting or a funny video, or just the feeling of being briefly connected or distracted. That reward completes the loop and tells your brain, hey, that felt good. Let's remember this sequence for next time.
And that reinforces the habit, making you more likely to do it again when the cue appears.
Precisely. This loop underlies every habit, good or bad. Understanding it is the key to changing behavior.
And this isn't just something Clear made up, right? It's based on actual science.
Oh, absolutely. This framework is deeply rooted in decades of behavioral psychology. You can trace it back to pioneers like B.F. Skinner and his work on operant conditioning in the 1950s, understanding how consequences shape behavior. Clear essentially takes this robust science and makes it incredibly accessible and actionable.
How does he make it actionable?
He translates this loop into his 4 laws of behavior change, which are basically practical instructions for building good habits by manipulating each stage of the loop.
Okay, let's hear the laws.
All right. Law 1 relates to the cue. Make it obvious. You want the trigger for your good habit to be visible, unavoidable, right in your face.
So put your running shoes by the door, put your vitamins next to your coffee maker.
Exactly. Law 2 targets the craving. Make it attractive. You need to increase your desire for the habit. Make it appealing, something you actually want to do.
Like pairing something you need to do with something you enjoy, which we'll get to later, right?
Yep, temptation bundling is a key strategy there.
Wow.
3 focuses on the response. Make it easy. Reduce friction. Simplify the action. Make it so effortless you can't not do it.
Like the 2-minute rule we'll also discuss. Start small.
Precisely. And finally, Law 4 addresses the reward. Make it satisfying. The habit needs to deliver some immediate gratification, a feeling of success or pleasure, to reinforce the loop and make your brain want to repeat it.
Make it obvious. Make it attractive. Make it easy. Make it satisfying. Okay, that's a clear framework.
It really is. And you see these laws being used everywhere in modern life, especially in apps designed to hook us.
Like what? Give us an example.
Well, think about a language learning app like Duolingo. It's hugely popular in the US and globally. How does it work?
Okay, yeah. It sends you notifications.
Make it obvious. Cue. It uses points, streaks, leaderboards, cute characters.
Make it attractive. Great.
Yeah.
The lessons are super short, like 5 minutes.
Make it easy, response, and you get immediate feedback, celebratory sounds, progress bars filling up.
Make it satisfying.
Yeah.
Reward. Wow, it hits all 4 laws perfectly.
It's designed that way. It makes language learning feel like a game, almost addictive, by consciously manipulating this habit loop.
And it's not just games, right? You mentioned other apps.
Sure, think about mindfulness apps like Headspace or Calm, also very popular here. They send you reminders for daily meditation, obvious cue. They often use calming visuals, soothing voices, maybe progress trackers showing your mindful minutes, attractive craving, satisfying reward. The meditations themselves are often short and guided, starting easy response.
Or even financial apps that help you save, like those roundup features.
Yeah. Automatically saving small amounts, easy response, feels good when you see your balance grow, satisfying reward. The app interface might make your savings goals visually appealing, attractive craving, and notifications remind you of your progress, obvious cue. They're all leveraging these fundamental principles.
It's amazing how universal this loop is. Clear really gives you the tools, the levers, to pull for each stage.
He does. It demystifies habit formation. It's not magic, it's a system. And once you understand the system, you can start to engineer it deliberately.
You become the architect of your own habits. Okay, key takeaway. Habits aren't magic. They're a loop you can hack for good.
The man who didn't look...
This next part is fascinating and a little bit creepy, honestly. Clear talks about how much of this habit loop runs on autopilot, completely beneath our conscious awareness. He uses this story, the man who didn't look right.
Yes, this is a really compelling illustration of the brain's subconscious habit-forming power. It's based on a real neurological case from the 1990s involving a man named Eugene Pauly who suffered severe brain damage affecting his memory.
Right, he had amnesia, couldn't form new explicit memories.
Exactly. Couldn't remember his doctor's name minutes after meeting him, couldn't recall major life events, couldn't even draw a map of his own house if you asked him to. His conscious memory was devastated. But his wife noticed something strange. While he couldn't consciously tell you where the kitchen was, if he felt hungry, he would get up, walk directly to the kitchen, open the cupboard, find a jar of nuts, open it, eat some, and put it back. Flawlessly. Every single time.
Wow, so he was acting purely on habit.
Purely on ingrained habit loops. His brain had stored these routines in a different part, the basal ganglia, which is associated with habit formation and wasn't damaged. The cues in his environment, the feeling of hunger, the layout of the house, were triggering these complex sequences of behavior automatically without any conscious thought or memory required.
That's incredible. It really pulls back the curtain on how much our own brains automate without us realizing it.
It absolutely does. And while his case was extreme, it highlights a fundamental truth. A huge portion of our daily actions are governed by these subconscious loops. Neurological research has always emphasized that awareness is the first step to change. You can't fix a habit you don't know you have.
And in 2025, we see this autopilot effect constantly, don't we? Think about scrolling through social media.
Oh, definitely. How often do you pick up your phone intending to just check one thing and suddenly 20 minutes have vanished scrolling through TikTok or Instagram?
All the time. You don't consciously decide, I am now going to spend 20 minutes watching random videos. It just happens.
It just happens. Your brain sees the cue, phone in hand, moment of downtime, feels the craving, distraction, novelty, dopamine, and executes the response. Unlock, scroll, automatically. It's a deeply ingrained habit loop for many of us.
And it's not just phones. What about other common autopilot behaviors, maybe specific to U.S. daily life?
Well, think about the automatic reach for coffee first thing in the morning for millions of people, or driving the same route to work every day, sometimes arriving without even remembering the specific turns you made.
Yeah, highway hypnosis.
Exactly. Or maybe grabbing that specific sugary snack from the office break room every afternoon around 3 p.m., even if you're not truly hungry just because it's 3 p.m. and you're bored or
Right.
stressed.
The cue triggers the routine without conscious intervention.
Right.
We're all a bit like that man who didn't look right running on these hideous scripts.
We are. And that's why Clear introduces a really practical tool to bring these scripts into the light: the habits scorecard.
Okay, what's that?
It's simple but powerful. You basically take a piece of paper or a note on your phone and list out your daily habits in sequence, starting from when you wake up. Wake up, check phone, brush teeth, make coffee, commute, check email, everything,
The whole routine.
the whole routine. And then, next to each habit, you mark whether it's a positive, plus, negative, or neutral habit in relation to your goals and the person you want to be.
So it forces you to actually notice and evaluate all those little things you do on autopilot.
Precisely. It makes the invisible visible. It turns you into a detective of your own behavior, shining a spotlight on these hidden patterns. You might be surprised what you uncover habits you didn't even realize you had, or habits you thought were neutral but are actually undermining your goals.
That awareness feels like the critical first step.
Yeah.
You can't change the script until you know what it says.
Exactly. Once you see the patterns, you regain control. You can start making conscious choices about which habits to keep, which to eliminate, and which new ones to build.
So the key takeaway here is shine a light on your habits, and you'll gain the power to rewrite them.
The best way to start a new habit.
Okay, so once you're aware of your habits, how do you actually start adding new positive ones? This is where Clear introduces a really clever technique called habit stacking.
Habit stacking. I like the sound of that. It sounds sturdy.
It is. The core idea is incredibly simple. You link a new habit you want to form directly onto an existing habit that you already do automatically. You stack the new behavior on top of an established one.
Okay, give me an example.
The classic one Clear uses is flossing. Many people want to floss more, but forget or lack motivation. Instead of just vaguely hoping to remember, you use habit stacking. You identify a strong existing habit, like brushing your teeth.
Which most of us do twice a day without thinking.
Right, so the habit stack formula becomes, after I current habit, new habit in this case, after I brush my teeth at night, I will floss one tooth.
Just one tooth.
Just one tooth to start. That's key. Make the new habit incredibly small and easy. We'll get to that more with the 2-minute rule. But the main point here is linking it directly to the existing cue of finishing brushing your teeth. Brushing becomes the trigger for flossing.
Ah, so you're leveraging the automaticity of the old habit to launch the new one. No need to remember separately. It just becomes the next step in the sequence.
Exactly. And the science backs this up strongly. Psychological studies on implementation intentions, which is basically this specific planning of when and where you'll perform a behavior, show dramatically higher success rates compared to just having a general goal like I want to floss more. Specificity is key.
Making a plan for when and where linked to an existing cue.
Yes, and you can see echoes of this historically too. Think about military basic training going way back. How do they instill complex drills and routines?
Repetition. Sequence.
Precisely. Through precise sequential actions. Each step becomes the cue for the next, building these automatic chains of behavior that hold up even under extreme stress. It's habit stacking on a large scale to build reliability.
That's a good parallel. So how does this apply in our tech-filled 2025 lives?
Well, smart home devices are practically built for habit stacking. Think about Amazon Alexa or Google Home, which are in millions of U.S. households. You can create routines that link actions together.
Like good morning routines.
Exactly. You can set it so that when you say good morning or turn off your alarm, the existing cue, it automatically turns on the lights, tells you the weather, and maybe even starts playing your favorite podcast, the new desired habits.
Or you could set reminders linked to specific times or actions, like, Alexa, after I finish dinner, remind me to take my vitamins.
Precisely. These devices can act as external triggers, making the stacking even easier by prompting the next action in the sequence, reducing the mental load on you.
So Clear really emphasizes crafting these specific implementation intentions, these after I current habit, I will new habit statements.
He does. He calls it the best way to start a new habit because it provides a clear time and location for the behavior, anchoring it to something you already do reliably. It takes the guesswork and the need for constant decision-making out of the equation.
It makes starting feel almost effortless because the trigger is built in.
Right, you're just riding the momentum of your existing routines.
Okay, so the takeaway is powerful. Piggyback on what you already do, and new habits will ride along seamlessly.
Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more.
This next idea really challenges a common belief. We tend to think habits are all about willpower, discipline, motivation. But Clear makes this bold claim. Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more.
It's a really powerful shift in focus, isn't it? We often blame ourselves, I just don't have enough willpower, I'm not motivated enough, when we fail to stick to a habit.
Yeah, it feels like a personal failing.
But Clear argues that our environment, the context in which we live and work, is often a much stronger determinant of our behavior than our internal state of motivation, which fluctuates wildly anyway. He uses this great analogy. Trying to stick to a diet while working in a donut shop is going to be incredibly difficult, no matter how motivated you are initially.
Right. Your environment is constantly tempting you, working against your goal.
Exactly. He suggests that instead of trying to summon more willpower, we should focus on designing our environment to make our desired habits easier and our undesired habits harder. Reshape your world, and the habits will follow more naturally.
He gives examples of this, right? Like in hospitals.
Yes, great historical example. Back in the 19th century, when doctors like Ignaz Semmelweis were starting to understand germ theory, hospitals began redesigning layouts. They put hand-washing stations in more prominent, obvious locations, made soap and clean towels readily available right where procedures were happening.
So they changed the environment to cue the desired behavior.
Precisely. And infection rates plummeted. It wasn't primarily about lecturing doctors on motivation. It was about making the correct action the most obvious and convenient one. The environment guided the behavior.
That makes so much sense. And you see this today, especially with how work has changed, like hybrid work setups in 2025.
Absolutely. The pandemic forced a massive shift, and many people and companies in the U.S. realized how much environment matters. Companies redesigned offices, maybe creating more collaborative spaces if that was the goal, or designated quiet zones for deep focus work.
And individuals at home, too. Setting up a dedicated home office space versus trying to work from the couch.
Made a huge difference in productivity and focus for many. Or consciously creating a workout space, even just a corner of a room with a yoga mat and weights, makes exercising much more likely than if that equipment is buried in a closet.
Or a reading nook, free from screens, encourages reading. It's about deliberately curating your space to support the habits you want.
Exactly. Clear's practical advice boils down to leveraging that first law. Make it obvious, but applying it to your entire environment. Make the cues for your good habits highly visible and unavoidable. Put your running shoes where you'll trip over them. Put healthy food at eye level in the fridge. Put your guitar stand in the middle of the living room.
And conversely, make the cues for bad habits invisible.
Yes. Hide the junk food. Put the TV remote in a drawer in another room. Log out of social media apps or remove them from your phone's home screen. Reduce the exposure to the triggers.
So you're not relying on motivation in the moment. You're letting your pre-designed environment do the heavy lifting.
You're transforming your environment from a potential minefield into your greatest ally in habit formation. It's proactive design versus reactive struggle.
Okay, key takeaway. Design your space for success, and motivation will follow naturally. Love that.
The secret to self-control.
Okay, so designing your environment helps make good habits easier. But what about resisting bad habits? We usually think of self-control as this heroic battle of willpower, right? Gritting your teeth against temptation.
That's the common view, yeah. The person with amazing self-control just has more willpower, more discipline than the rest of us.
But Clear turns that idea on its head too, doesn't he? He says the real secret to self-control isn't about having more willpower.
Exactly. He argues that people who seem to have incredible self-control aren't necessarily better at resisting temptation. They're better at avoiding temptation in the first place. They structure their lives and environments so they encounter fewer tempting cues.
So it's less about fighting the dragon and more about not walking into the dragon's lair to begin with.
That's a great way to put it. It ties back directly to the environment. The secret is often just inverting that first law for bad habits. Make the cues invisible. If you don't see the cue, the craving often doesn't even start, or it's much weaker. You conserve your willpower because you don't need to use it as often.
This actually has roots in ancient philosophy, doesn't it? Like the Stoics.
Absolutely. Thinkers like Epictetus understood this centuries ago. They emphasized focusing on what you can control, which often includes your environment and your exposure to triggers, rather than trying to control uncontrollable urges directly through sheer force of will. They knew environment often trumps endurance.
It makes sense. Why constantly battle temptation if you can just remove the source?
Right. It's a much more effective, less draining strategy. Think about trying to quit smoking while keeping a pack of cigarettes in your pocket. It's setting yourself up for failure. The person who throws away all their cigarettes, lighters, and ashtrays is making the cue invisible and the response much harder.
And in 2025, we have digital tools that help with this, right? Like those website blockers or app timers.
Yes, exactly. Tools like Freedom or Cold Turkey or even the built-in screen time features on smartphones are popular in the US precisely because they help people practice this principle. You can block distracting websites or social media apps during work hours.
So the app icon, the website bookmark, is effectively hidden or disabled.
Right. The temptation is removed from your digital environment. You don't have to rely on willpower to resist opening Twitter if the app simply won't launch. It's environmental design applied to the digital world.
So Clear essentially takes his 4 laws for building good habits and flips them for breaking bad ones.
Precisely. To break a bad habit, you want to apply the inversion of the laws. 1. Make it invisible. Invert, make it obvious. Remove the cue. 2. Make it unattractive. Invert, make it attractive. Reframe your mindset about the craving. 3. Make it difficult. Invert, make it easy. Add friction to the response. 4. Make it unsatisfying. Invert, make it satisfying. Add immediate costs or consequences.
Making it invisible seems like the most powerful first step for self-control, though.
It often is. If you could cut the habit off at the source by removing the trigger, you short-circuit the whole loop before it even begins. You outsmart the urge.
So true self-control isn't about being stronger than temptation. It's about being smarter.
That's a great summary. It's about designing your life to avoid the fight whenever possible.
Key takeaway: self-control shines brightest when you remove the battle entirely.
How to make a habit irresistible.
All right, so we've talked about making cues obvious or invisible and making habits easy or difficult. Now let's focus on that second law. Make it attractive. How do you actually want to do the good habits?
This is where it gets fun, right?
Yeah,
Because it taps into our brain's reward system, that seductive pull of dopamine.
exactly. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure after you do something. It's released in anticipation of a reward. That anticipation is what drives the craving. So if you can make the anticipation of doing a good habit more appealing, you make the habit itself irresistible.
And Clear offers a really cool strategy for this called temptation bundling.
Yes, this is one of my favorite concepts from the book. It's brilliant. The idea is to pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do.
Okay, break that down.
You take something you genuinely enjoy, something that gives you that dopamine hit, like listening to your favorite podcast, watching Netflix, scrolling Instagram, getting a pedicure, and you only allow yourself to do that enjoyable thing while you are doing a habit you need to build but find less appealing.
So the classic example. Only listen to your addictive true crime podcast while you're at the gym or out for a run.
Precisely. Or maybe you only get to watch your favorite reality TV show while you're folding laundry or doing meal prep for the week.
Ah, okay. So the thing you want to do becomes the immediate reward or bait that pulls you into doing the thing you need to do.
Exactly. Your brain starts to associate the less desirable activity, exercise, chores, with the pleasurable anticipation of the desirable one, podcast, TV show. The craving for the want activity transfers over, making the need activity much more attractive.
That's clever. It's like tricking your brain with its own reward system.
It is, and it taps into our evolutionary wiring. Our brain evolved to seek out rewards and anticipate pleasure because that helped us survive finding food, finding mates. We're still driven by that dopamine-fueled anticipation. Temptation bundling just channels it productively.
And you see this being used commercially too, right, in 2025.
Oh, for sure. Think about fitness platforms like Peloton, which exploded in the US. A big part of their appeal isn't just the bike, it's the experience. They've bundled the exercise, the need with charismatic instructors, curated popular music playlists, and a sense of community competition, the wants, the attractive elements.
Right. Makes the workout feel more like entertainment or an event.
Exactly. Or think about apps that combine fitness routines with engaging narratives or games, turning exercise into an adventure. They're bundling the physical activity with story or gameplay elements to make it more irresistible. US consumers are definitely drawn to these experiences that make effort feel more like fun.
So Claire's insight here is that by consciously making a habit more attractive, by bundling it with temptation or focusing on its benefits, you amplify that crucial craving phase of the habit loop.
Yes. You're increasing the perceived value, the anticipated reward, which makes you much more likely to initiate the action. You're essentially manufacturing desire for the things you know are good for you.
It's about making the habit something you look forward to, not something you dread.
Precisely. Make it so appealing you can't wait to do it.
Key takeaway: lure yourself into habits with irresistible rewards.
The role of family and friends in shaping your habits.
Okay, we've talked a lot about individual strategies, environment, cues, rewards. But Claire also emphasizes something huge: the power of our social environment, our family, our friends, the groups we belong to.
Absolutely. This is a massive factor, often underestimated. We are fundamentally social creatures, deeply influenced by the norms and behaviors of the people around us. Claire highlights the dramatic power of social imitation.
Imitation, like we just copy people.
To a large extent, yes. Especially the groups we identify with or want to belong to. There are basically three ways groups shape us, according to Claire. We imitate the close, family, friends, the many, the dominant culture or group norm, and the powerful, those with status or success we admire.
Okay, the close, the many, the powerful. Makes sense. We want to fit in with our tribe.
Exactly. This goes way back. Historically, in tribal societies, conforming to group norms wasn't just about fitting in. It was often crucial for survival. You learned how to hunt, what plants were safe to eat, how to build shelter by imitating others in the tribe. Sticking with the group's habits meant survival. That deep-seated desire to belong, to be accepted, still drives us powerfully today.
And you see this so clearly in modern communities, especially around habits like fitness or health.
Oh, definitely. Think about the rise of specific fitness communities here in the US, places like CrossFit gyms, or maybe local running clubs, or even groups like Weight Watchers that have been around for ages.
Yeah, they build a real culture, don't they?
They do. When you join one of these groups, suddenly exercising regularly, pushing your limits, maybe eating a certain way, it becomes the normal thing to do. Everyone around you is doing it.
So it shifts from being this difficult thing you have to force yourself to do to just reward what the group does.
Precisely. The shared norms, the mutual support, the friendly competition, the accountability, it all works together to make adopting and sticking to those habits much, much easier. Your desire to fit in with the tribe pulls you along.
So Claire's advice here is pretty direct, isn't it? Choose your tribe wisely.
Very much so. He insightfully advises joining cultures where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. If you want to read more, join a book club. If you want to be more entrepreneurial, hang out with other entrepreneurs. If you want to get fit, join a gym or group where fitness is the standard.
Surround yourself with people who have the habits you want to have.
Because their normal will start to become your normal through osmosis, through that natural human tendency to imitate and belong. It's like leveraging social gravity to pull you towards your goals.
Your environment isn't just physical space. It's also the people in it.
Exactly. Your social network acts like a net of vision. It can either catch you and support you or potentially drag you down if the prevailing norms are counter to your goals.
So it's a conscious choice about who you associate with and which groups you immerse yourself in.
It really is. It's one of the most powerful environmental factors you can shape.
Key takeaway: your social network is your habit. Choose wisely.
How to find and fix the causes of your bad habits.
All right, let's pivot back to those pesky bad habits. We know we need to make them invisible, unattractive, difficult, unsatisfying. But Clear also talks about digging deeper, finding the root cause.
Yes, this is crucial for making lasting change. Simply fighting the surface behavior, the symptom, often isn't enough if you don't address the underlying need or craving that's driving it.
So bad habits aren't just random acts of weakness.
Rarely. Clear argues they are often misguided attempts to meet fundamental human needs. They're modern solutions, albeit often poor ones, to ancient desires.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, think about stress eating. The surface behavior is overeating, maybe junk food. But the underlying cause, the craving, might be for comfort, stress relief, or a feeling of control when things feel chaotic. The food is just the tool being used, however ineffectively, to meet that deeper need.
Or endless scrolling on social media.
Could be driven by a need for connection or novelty, or maybe just an escape from boredom or anxiety. Smoking might be linked to stress relief or social belonging. Procrastination might stem from fear of failure or feeling overwhelmed.
So the bad habit is just the strategy the brain has latched onto to cope with an underlying feeling or need.
Exactly. And understanding this connection is powerful. It draws, in some ways, from psychological traditions that emphasize uncovering underlying motivations, like understanding the why behind the what. If you only focus on stopping the what, Panda will stop eating cookies, without addressing the why, and you find healthier ways to manage stress, another bad habit will likely pop up to fill that void.
So how do you find the cause?
It often involves self-reflection, maybe even using that habit scorecard we talked about. When you notice yourself engaging in a bad habit, pause and ask, what triggered this? What emotion was I feeling right before? What need or desire might this behavior be trying to fulfill?
Becoming aware of the pattern and the feeling behind it.
Yes, and Clear suggests reframing the habit once you understand the cause. You can associate the bad habit with negative outcomes or reframe the benefits of avoiding it.
Can you give an example of reframing?
Sure. Instead of thinking, I can't smoke, which feels like deprivation, you might reframe it as, I choose not to smoke because I want to be healthy and have more energy for my kids. Or instead of, I have to stop eating junk food, maybe I get to nourish my body with foods that make me feel good. It shifts the focus from restriction to positive choice and benefit.
Making the alternative more attractive, essentially.
Exactly. And making the bad habit seem less like a solution and more like part of the problem.
Modern tools like mindfulness apps seem really relevant here too, don't they?
Absolutely. Apps like Calm or Headspace, which are super popular in the US, often include exercises specifically designed to help users identify triggers and underlying emotions. Guided meditations might ask you to notice feelings of stress, boredom, or anxiety without judgment, helping you see the link between those feelings and subsequent behaviors like stress eating or mindless scrolling.
So they help you build that awareness muscle needed to spot the root cause.
Precisely. They provide tools to observe your internal state and connect it to your external actions. Once you understand the true craving, you can find healthier ways to satisfy it, or reframe the bad habit so it loses its appeal.
So don't just treat the symptom, treat the cause.
That's the core idea. Address the cause, and the habit crumbles.
Powerful. Okay, another quick reminder, if you're getting value from this deep dive, hitting that like or subscribe button really helps us out. All right, let's keep going.
Walk slowly, but never backward.
So we're building good habits, breaking bad ones. But how do we make sure we stick with it? This next chapter title says it all. Walk slowly, but never backward.
I love that phrase. It speaks to consistency, doesn't it? Even if progress feels slow.
Exactly. This chapter is all about the power of frequency over intensity. It's about showing up day after day, even if it's just for a short time. It's the repetition itself that matters most for automating a habit.
We often think we need these long, perfect sessions for it to count, right? Like an hour at the gym or nothing, write 2,000 words or don't bother.
Right. And that perfectionism often leads to doing nothing at all because the bar feels too high. Clear argues that just doing something, even for 1 minute, is infinitely better than doing nothing. Why? Because every time you perform the habit, even imperfectly, you're casting a vote for that identity, and more importantly, you're reinforcing the neural pathways for that behavior. You're getting the reps in.
So frequency builds the groove in the brain, making it more automatic over time.
Precisely. It's like carving a path in a forest. The first time is hard work, but the more you walk that path, the clearer and easier it becomes. Showing up consistently, even briefly, is what carves that neural path.
This reminds me of stories of inventors or artists like Thomas Edison.
Yeah, that's a great historical parallel. Edison and his work on the light bulb, for instance. He famously tested thousands of materials for the filament. It wasn't about one giant leap. It was relentless, consistent experimentation and iteration. Thousands of tiny reps.
He distinguished between motion and action.
Right.
Yeah.
Clear highlights this distinction. Motion is planning, strategizing, learning, all necessary. But they don't build the habit. Action is actually doing the thing, performing the reps. You can research the best workout plan forever, motion, but you only build a habit of exercising by actually exercising action. Consistency in action is what matters.
And we see this principle everywhere in modern apps, especially with the streak features.
Oh, streaks are huge. Snapchat streaks, Duolingo's daily streak counter, fitness apps tracking consecutive workout days. They're ubiquitous in the US and globally.
Why are they so effective?
Because they tap into our desire not to break the chain. Seeing that number go up day after day provides visual proof of consistency and creates a psychological incentive to keep going. You don't want to see that number drop back to zero. It gamifies consistency.
It makes showing up Even for a small action, feel rewarding in itself because you maintain the streak.
Exactly. It keeps the fire alive, encourages you to just do something each day to keep the chain intact, which reinforces the habit loop through sheer repetition.
So Clear's focus here is really on practice, practice, practice. That's the path to making a habit automatic.
Yes. Don't worry so much about perfection or duration, especially at the beginning. Just focus on showing up consistently. Master the art of showing up.
Walk slowly, perhaps, but never backward. Keep the chain going.
That's the essence of it. Consistency trumps perfection. Keep moving.
The law of least effort.
Okay, this next one feels almost like common sense, but Clear really digs into why it's so powerful. The law of least effort. Basically, our brains are lazy.
Huh. Lazy might be harsh, but they're definitely efficient. Our brains are fundamentally wired to conserve energy. It's an evolutionary survival mechanism. Given multiple options to achieve the same outcome, we will naturally gravitate towards the one that requires the least amount of work.
It's not a moral failing, it's just how we're built.
Exactly. And understanding this is key to habit formation. Why fight this inherent tendency? Why try to force yourself uphill when you can design your habits to roll downhill?
Leverage the laziness.
Precisely. Clear argues we should make our desired habits the path of least resistance. Reduce the friction associated with them as much as possible.
He uses historical examples for this too, right? Like assembly lines.
Yeah, Henry Ford and the moving assembly line in the 1910s is a perfect example. Ford didn't just invent mass production, he meticulously engineered the process to minimize effort for each worker. He brought the work to the worker, broke down complex tasks into simple, repeatable actions, and arranged tools and parts for maximum convenience.
So he reduced the friction of production.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
And the result was an explosion in efficiency and output. He made the desired action, assembling the car quickly, the easiest possible action for the workers.
And we see this law exploited everywhere in modern commerce, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. Think about one-click shopping on Amazon. It's the ultimate example of reducing friction. You don't have to enter your address, your credit card details. Just one click, and the purchase is made.
It makes buying incredibly easy, almost effortless. Dangerously easy sometimes.
Right, or subscription boxes. They eliminate the effort of choosing and buying products regularly. They just show up at your door. Food delivery apps removes the friction of cooking. Streaming services remove the friction of finding and acquiring movies.
They all thrive by making the desired action, consuming their product or service, the path of least resistance for the consumer, especially here in the U.S., where convenience is highly valued.
Exactly. So Clear's advice is to apply this same principle to your own habits. How can you reduce the friction for the good habits you want to build?
This is where priming the environment comes in again.
Yes. It's about setting up your space and your life so that doing the right thing is easier than doing the wrong thing. Want to eat healthier? Pre-chop your vegetables over the weekend so grabbing them for a meal takes zero effort during the week.
Want to go to the gym in the morning? Lay out your clothes, pack your bag, and put your keys right by the door the night before. Reduces morning friction.
Want to read more? Leave a book on your pillow or next to your favorite chair. Want to drink more water? Keep a water bottle on your desk at all times.
It's about removing those little steps, those tiny barriers that might make you hesitate or choose the easier, less desirable option in the moment.
Exactly. You're engineering ease into your good habits and conversely adding friction to your bad habits, like hiding the cookies, deleting the distracting apps. Make the good choice the lazy choice.
So the key takeaway is simple but profound. Make good, easy, bad hard.
How to stop procrastinating by using the 2-minute rule.
All right, we know we need to make habits easy, but sometimes even easy habits feel hard to start. That initial inertia, that procrastination, it can be tough to overcome.
Oh, absolutely. Starting is often the biggest hurdle. We look at the whole task, run 3 miles, write a chapter, meditate for 20 minutes, and it feels daunting, so we put it off.
This is where Clear introduces a brilliantly simple technique, the 2-minute rule. He calls it a gateway habit.
Yes, and it's designed specifically to blast through that initial resistance and procrastination. The rule is incredibly straightforward. When you start a new habit, scale it down so that it takes less than 2 minutes to do.
Less than 2 minutes. That seems ridiculously small.
That's the point. The goal isn't necessarily to do the entire habit, it's just to start, to overcome the friction of starting. So read every day becomes read 1 page. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. Run 3 miles becomes put on my running shoes.
So you're focusing only on the very first action, the one that initiates the process, and making that take less than 2 minutes.
Exactly, because once you've started, inertia often works for you instead of against you. Once you've read one page, you might feel like reading more. Once you've taken out the yoga mat, doing a few poses feels like the natural next step. Once your running shoes are on, going out the door is much easier.
It lowers the barrier to entry so much that it feels almost silly not to do it.
Precisely. It leverages insights from behavioral economics about the importance of these gateway moments or decisive moments. Overcoming that initial hump is key. The 2-minute rule makes the hump negligible.
Do we see similar principles used elsewhere? Like maybe productivity techniques?
Well, think about the Pomodoro technique, which is really popular among students and professionals in the US. You commit to working on a task for just 25 minutes, then take a short break.
Right, it breaks down a big project into manageable chunks.
Exactly. While it's longer than 2 minutes, it shares that core principle. Bypass procrastination by committing to a small, defined initial burst of effort rather than facing the entire daunting task at once. It makes starting less intimidating. The 2-minute rule just takes that to an extreme for habit initiation.
Clear also talks about ritualizing the beginning of a habit, right?
Yes, the 2-minute rule helps establish that starting ritual. By making the first 2 minutes easy and consistent, you create a reliable entryway into the habit. That ritual signals to your brain, okay, we're doing this now, and can help you flow into the rest of the activity more smoothly.
It's about standardizing the launch sequence.
Perfectly put. You master the art of starting, and the rest often takes care of itself.
So the message is clear. Start tiny, finish big.
How to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible.
Okay, we're getting pretty advanced now. We've made habits obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. But how do we lock them in? Make them almost inevitable, and make bad habits impossible.
This is where Clear talks about using commitment devices and automation to essentially bind your future self to the right course of action. It's about making choices now that guarantee good behavior later, removing willpower from the equation entirely.
Like making a pact with your future self.
Exactly. The classic historical example he uses is Odysseus from Greek mythology. Odysseus knew he wouldn't be able to resist the siren's fatally alluring song. He couldn't rely on willpower in the moment.
Right. So what did he do?
He made a pre-commitment. He had his sailors tie him securely to the mast of the ship and ordered them to plug their own ears with wax and not untie him no matter how much he begged or commanded them to.
He made the bad habit, steering towards the sirens, impossible, and the good habit, sailing past safely, inevitable through a commitment device.
Precisely. He acknowledged his future weakness and designed a system to overcome it in advance. We can do the same, maybe with slightly less drama.
How does this look in 2025? Automation seems key here.
Automation is huge. Think about personal finance. Setting up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings or retirement account each payday is a perfect example.
That's a very common practice in the U.S. now.
It is because it works. It makes saving inevitable. You don't have to decide to save each month. The system does it for you. The good habit happens automatically without requiring any willpower or discipline in the moment.
Or using apps that automatically invest spare change from your purchases.
Another great example, you're automating wealth building, making it the default path.
Clear also talks about one-time choices that lock in future habits, right?
Yes, these are really powerful. These are decisions you make once that continue paying dividends in terms of good habits down the line. For instance, buying a high-quality water filter for your home. That's a one-time action that makes drinking clean water easy and automatic forever after.
Or maybe buying a comfortable mattress makes getting good sleep easier every night.
Buying blackout curtains. Deleting distracting apps from your phone permanently, not just logging out. Canceling cable TV if you want to watch less. Buying smaller plates if you want to manage portion sizes.
These are single decisions with ongoing automated benefits for your habits.
Exactly. You invest a little effort up front to make a decision or set up a system that automates the good behavior or makes the bad behavior difficult or impossible long term.
It's like setting up guardrails for your future self.
That's a perfect analogy. You're making it hard to swerve off course.
So the takeaway is about strategic laziness again, in a way. Set things up so the right thing happens automatically.
Yes. Engineer your systems and make those one-time choices that guarantee future success.
Automate the good, barricade the bad.
The cardinal rule of behavior change.
We've hit the 4 laws: obvious, attractive, easy. But Clear emphasizes that the 4th law, make it satisfying, holds a special place. He calls immediate reward the cardinal rule of behavior change. Why is it so critical?
Because of how our brains are fundamentally wired. As we touched on before, we have a strong bias towards immediate gratification. Actions that deliver immediate pleasure or satisfaction are much more likely to be repeated than actions where the reward is delayed.
Even if the delayed reward is much bigger or better for us.
Often, yes. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. For our ancestors foraging on the savannah, finding berries and eating them now provided immediate survival value. Waiting for a potential larger reward later might mean starving or being eaten yourself. Our brains evolved to prioritize immediate payoffs.
And that ancient wiring is still running the show in our modern world, filled with delayed return activities like studying, exercising, or saving money.
Exactly. The benefits of exercise come later: better health, weight loss. The cost effort, sweat, time is immediate. The benefits of saving money are future security. The cost not buying something you want now is immediate. This mismatch makes sticking to these habits hard.
So the cardinal rule is, behavior that is immediately rewarded gets repeated. Behavior that is immediately punished gets avoided.
That's the essence of it. Therefore, to build a good habit, you need to find a way to inject some form of immediate satisfaction into the process, even if it's small. You need to signal to your brain right away, hey, that was good, do it again.
And conversely, for bad habits, if you can link an immediate cost or punishment, you make them less likely.
Right. We talked about making bad habits unsatisfying. Maybe if you smoke, you have to immediately put the money you would have spent on cigarettes into a jar for something you don't want. Or if you skip a workout, you have to do 10 burpees immediately, adding an immediate unpleasant consequence.
Okay, so how do we make good habits immediately satisfying? The real reward might be weeks or months away.
Clear suggests several strategies. One is simply tracking your habit. Putting a check mark on a calendar or in a habit tracker app provides a small, immediate visual hit of satisfaction. I did it.
That feeling of accomplishment, even from just making a mark.
Exactly. Or you could create a small, immediate reward ritual. Maybe after you finish your workout, you allow yourself 5 minutes to relax with a cup of tea you enjoy. Or after you complete a difficult work task, you get up and stretch or listen to one song you love. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be immediate and enjoyable.
You see this used effectively in loyalty programs, right?
Definitely. Think about coffee shop loyalty apps, like Starbucks Rewards here in the US. You buy a coffee, the habit, and you immediately see points or stars accumulate in the app. The immediate reward. You don't have to wait 10 coffees for a free one. You get that little dopamine hit of progress right away, which reinforces the buying habit.
It closes the feedback loop much faster.
Precisely. It connects the action to an immediate positive feeling, aligning with our brain's preference.
So find ways to give yourself that immediate pat on the back, however small.
Yes. Don't wait for the long-term outcome. Reward the effort now.
Key takeaway. Reward now for habits forever.
How to stick with good habits every day.
Okay, immediate rewards help. But sticking with habits day in, day out requires ongoing effort. How do we maintain that momentum? Clear talks about tracking, but with a potential pitfall.
Right. Tracking your habits, as we just mentioned, is incredibly powerful for motivation and immediate satisfaction. Visualizing your progress, seeing that chain of X's on a calendar, or the graph in your app trending upwards feels good and encourages you not to break the chain. It's like mapping your journey to treasure.
It makes progress tangible and motivating.
Definitely. But Clear also introduces an important caution related to something called Goodhart's Law from economics.
Goodhart's Law, what's that?
The basic idea is when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. In terms of habits, this means if you become too obsessed with the metric itself, the number of steps, the days on your streak, the pounds on the scale, you might start optimizing for the metric instead of the actual underlying behavior or goal.
So you might start, I don't know, shaking your fitness tracker while sitting down just to hit your step goal.
Exactly. Or you might force yourself through a terrible, low-quality workout just to maintain your streak, even if resting would be better. Or you might crash diet in unhealthy ways just to see the scale move, losing sight of the real goal of sustainable health. The measurement becomes the goal, and the original purpose gets distorted.
So tracking is good, but don't let the numbers become the only thing that matters. Measure mindfully.
Precisely. Use tracking as a tool for awareness and motivation, but keep the bigger picture, the why behind the habit, in focus.
And we see tracking everywhere with wearable tech in 2025.
Absolutely. Devices like the Apple Watch, Fitbit, Garmin are incredibly popular in the US for this reason. They provide constant, immediate visual feedback on activity levels, sleep, heart rate.
Those rings on the Apple Watch, people get obsessed with closing their rings.
They do. And earning badges, seeing daily step counts climb, it's highly motivating for many and demonstrably leads to increased activity. It perfectly leverages visual tracking and immediate feedback. Just be mindful of Goodhart's law.
Okay, so tracking helps. But what happens when you inevitably slip up? You miss a day? Does that ruin everything?
This is where Clear offers perhaps his most practical and reassuring piece of advice for long-term consistency: the never miss twice rule.
Never miss twice. Okay, what does that mean?
It means acknowledge that perfection is impossible. You will miss a day sometimes. Life happens, you get sick, travel disrupts your routine, you have an off day. That's okay. The key is not to let one missed day turn into 2 or 3 or a complete abandonment of the habit.
So one mistake is an outlier, but 2 mistakes is the beginning of a new negative pattern.
Exactly. The crucial thing is to get back on track immediately the next day. Don't dwell on the failure, just resume the habit as quickly as possible. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit, the habit of not doing it.
That takes so much pressure off. It's not about being perfect. It's about prompt recovery.
Precisely. It builds resilience into your habit system. Focus on getting back on track quickly, and one slip-up won't derail your long-term progress.
So track your progress, but don't obsess over the numbers. And if you stumble, get back up fast.
That's the recipe for sticking with it. Measure mindfully, persist passionately.
How an accountability partner can change everything.
We've focused a lot on individual strategies, but sometimes bringing someone else into the picture can make a huge difference. Clear talks about how an accountability partner can change everything.
Yes, leveraging social connection again,
Yeah.
but in a more direct, one-on-one way. Having someone you're accountable to adds a layer of social pressure and support that can be incredibly motivating.
How does it work? Is it just checking in?
It can be, but it's often more powerful when there are real stakes involved. Knowing that someone else is aware of your goals and expecting you to follow through introduces a social cost to failing. We generally don't like to let others down or look bad in their eyes.
So the fear of disappointing your partner motivates you to stick to the habit.
It can be a strong motivator, yes. Clear even talks about creating formal habit contracts, where you explicitly state your goal, the habit you'll perform, and the consequence if you fail, often involving paying your partner money or doing something embarrassing.
Wow, raising the stakes.
It definitely does. But even without formal contracts, just knowing someone will ask you, hey, did you go for your run this morning, can be enough to get you out the door when you might otherwise have stayed in bed.
This idea of mutual accountability isn't new, right? It feels like something societies have used forever.
Absolutely. Historically, pacts, oaths, and community agreements have always amplified commitment. Think of business partners relying on each other, or recovery groups where members support and hold each other accountable. Shared goals and mutual expectation are powerful forces.
And in 2025, technology facilitates this too, doesn't it? With apps or online groups.
For sure, there are apps specifically designed for accountability, like Coach.me, where you can hire a coach or join groups. But even simpler things are common in the US, like friends using a shared group chat to post their workout summaries or check in on study goals, or using shared fitness apps where you can see each other's activity.
It creates that visibility and shared journey.
Exactly. It makes it less of a solitary struggle and more of a team effort, even if it's just a team of 2.
Clear gives advice on choosing a good partner, right? It's not just anyone.
Right. Ideally, you want someone whose respect you value, someone who is likely to enforce the agreement, not let you off the hook easily, and perhaps someone who is also working on their own habits, creating a dynamic of mutual support and understanding.
So it turns a private intention into a public promise, at least to one other person.
Precisely. And that simple shift can dramatically increase your odds of success.
Key takeaway: share the journey, multiply the success.
The truth about talent, when genes matter and when they don't.
Okay, this is a tricky topic. Talent. Are some people just naturally better suited for certain habits or skills? Clear tackles the truth about talent.
Yeah, it's a nuanced discussion. He acknowledges that genes do matter. Our genetic makeup predisposes us to certain strengths and weaknesses, influencing our personality, physical capabilities, and even cognitive inclinations.
So some people might just be naturally more inclined towards certain activities.
Yes, Someone naturally extroverted might find habits involving social interaction easier and more rewarding than someone highly introverted. Someone with a certain muscle fiber composition might excel more readily at endurance sports versus powerlifting. Our genes set certain ranges or potentials.
But Clear isn't saying genes are destiny, right? That effort doesn't matter.
Not at all. Effort is always crucial. But he argues that genes shine brightest, and effort pays off most effectively when you're playing in an arena that aligns with your natural strengths. It's about finding the right game for you to play.
Like unlocking your genetic lottery by choosing fields where you have a natural edge.
Kinda, yeah. It's about self-awareness, understanding your personality, your inclinations, what comes relatively easily or enjoyably to you, and then aligning your habits and efforts with those areas. You'll likely find more success and satisfaction, which makes sticking with it easier.
He uses the famous Michael Jordan example, right?
Yes, it's a perfect illustration. Jordan dominated basketball, arguably the greatest ever, clearly playing to his incredible natural talents and work ethic. Then he retired and tried professional baseball.
And he wasn't exactly great at baseball.
Despite his legendary athleticism and work ethic, he struggled significantly in the minor leagues. His specific talents just weren't as well suited to baseball as they were to basketball. When he returned to basketball, he was dominant again immediately. It shows the power of finding the right fit, the arena where your unique talents can flourish.
So it's about exploring, finding where you naturally click, and then doubling down there.
Exactly. It's not about giving up if something is hard, but about recognizing where your efforts are likely to yield the best return, and where you'll experience more flow and less friction due to your innate predispositions.
What about modern trends, like DNA tests claiming to guide careers or habits?
That's still a very emerging and honestly quite speculative area. While consumer DNA tests like 23andMe in the US can provide some health or ancestry insights, using them to definitively guide career choices based on perceived genetic predispositions for certain traits is, well, the science isn't really there yet for that level of precision. It's interesting, but should be taken with a huge grain of salt.
So it's less about literal gene testing and more about self-observation and aligning habits with your observed personality and inclinations.
Exactly. Pay attention to what activities energize you versus drain you. What skills do you seem to pick up more quickly? What kind of work feels engaging rather than a total slog? Aligning your habits with these natural tendencies makes them feel more authentic and sustainable.
So don't try to force yourself into a mold that doesn't fit. Play your own game.
That's the core message. Choose battles you're predisposed to win, where your efforts will be amplified by your natural talents.
Key takeaway: choose battles where you thrive.
The Goldilocks rule: how to stay motivated in life and work.
Okay, so you've chosen the right battles, you're playing to your strengths. But how do you stay motivated over the long haul, especially once a habit starts to feel routine or even boring?
The motivation problem again. This is where Clear introduces the Goldilocks rule, like the fairy tale.
Exactly like the fairy tale. Not too hot, not too cold, but just right. In terms of motivation, the Goldilocks rule states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. Not too hard, not too easy, but just right.
So we need a challenge, but not an overwhelming one.
Precisely. This ties directly into the concept of the flow state, researched extensively by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi back in the 1970s. Flow is that feeling of being fully immersed, energized, and focused in an activity, losing track of time because you're so engaged.
And that happens when the challenge level matches your skill level.
Slightly above your current skill level, actually. That's the key. If a task is too easy, you get bored and lose interest quickly. There's no novelty, no sense of growth. If a task is overwhelmingly difficult, you get frustrated, anxious, and likely give up.
But that sweet spot, just beyond your comfort zone where you have to stretch, but success is still possible, that's where motivation thrives.
That's the Goldilocks zone. It keeps you engaged, focused, and provides that satisfying feeling of progress and mastery when you succeed. Your brain loves tackling optimally challenging problems.
You see this designed into modern games and apps all the time, don't you?
Oh, constantly. Video games are masters of the Goldilocks rule. They continuously adjust the difficulty based on your performance, introducing new challenges, just as you master old ones, keeping you hooked and engaged in that flow state.
Educational apps do this too, right? Like Khan Academy or language learning apps used widely in the US.
Yes, many adaptive learning platforms work this way. They assess your skill level and present problems or lessons that are challenging but achievable. If you succeed, the difficulty increases slightly. If you struggle, it might offer more support or slightly easier tasks. The goal is to keep you in that optimal learning and motivation zone, preventing boredom and frustration.
So for our own habits, once we've established them, we need to find ways to stay in that Goldilocks zone to avoid boredom.
Exactly. Once a habit becomes easy, routine, and maybe even boring, motivation can wane. Clear suggests intentionally adding small layers of difficulty or novelty. If you run 3 miles easily, maybe aim for a slightly faster time, or try a new route or add intervals. If you practice guitar chords, maybe try learning a slightly more complex song.
Keep pushing the edge just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Find ways to introduce manageable challenges that keep the habit engaging and provide that sense of ongoing progress and mastery. Avoid complacency.
So don't let habits become too easy or motivation dies.
Right. You need that optimal level of challenge to stay engaged long term.
Key takeaway: stay on the edge for peak performance.
The downside of creating good habits.
Okay, we've spent this whole deep dive talking about the incredible power of habits. But Clear ends with a really important note of caution. The downside of creating good habits. There's a downside.
There can be, yes. It's the double-edged sword idea. Habits are powerful because they automate behavior, freeing up mental energy. That's the upside: liberation through routine.
But the downside?
The downside is that this automation can lead to inflexibility and complacency. When you're running purely on autopilot, you might stop paying attention. You might miss opportunities to improve or fail to adapt when circumstances change because you're locked into your established routines.
So the very efficiency of habits can become a trap if we're not careful.
Exactly. You might become so good at executing a specific habit that you stop thinking critically about whether it's still the best way to do things or even if it's still serving your ultimate goals. Mastery can lead to blind spots.
How do we counteract that?
Clear suggests building in periods of reflection and review. Don't just blindly follow your routines forever. Periodically, maybe once a year or quarterly, take time to consciously review your habits and systems. Ask yourself, are these still serving me? Is there a better way? Have my goals changed? Do I need to adjust or introduce new habits?
Like conducting an audit of your own habit portfolio.
Precisely. It keeps you intentional and prevents you from getting stuck in a rut, even a productive-seeming one.
He mentions historical innovators like Einstein, who sometimes deliberately broke routines.
Yes, the idea being that sometimes shaking things up, stepping outside your normal patterns is necessary for creativity, insight, and breakthrough thinking. While routines are essential for execution, occasional disruption can be vital for innovation and ensuring you don't become too rigid.
So maintain routines, but don't become a slave to them.
Right.
Find the balance.
How might this look in 2025? He mentions AI habit auditors. That's probably more speculative or future-focused. While there isn't really a mainstream AI habit auditor app yet, the broader trend in U.S. tech culture of using data and analytics for self-reflection is relevant. People use productivity trackers, financial dashboards, wellness apps, all tools that can facilitate that review process if used intentionally. They provide data points for you to consciously assess your patterns.
So the tools might exist, but the reflection still needs to be a conscious human process.
Absolutely. The AI isn't going to tell you if your habits align with your deepest values. That requires self-awareness and deliberate review. Clear's call is for that balance. Build strong habits for efficiency, but remain vigilant and reflective to ensure they continue to serve you well and don't prevent you from adapting and growing.
Don't let your strengths become weaknesses through lack of awareness.
Perfectly said. Build habits, but stay vigilant. Outro.
Wow. What an incredible journey through the core ideas of atomic habits. We started with that surprising power of 1% improvements compounding over time.
Yeah, the British cyclists, the fitness trackers, realizing small hinges swing big doors.
Then that deep connection between habits and identity, how every action is a vote for the person you're becoming.
And the simple, powerful four-step loop. Cue, craving, response, reward, the blueprint for all behavior.
We uncovered how much runs on autopilot and the need for awareness, using tools like the habit scorecard.
And learned practical strategies like habit stacking, linking new habits to old ones.
Plus that crucial insight, environment often matters more than motivation. Design your space, choose your tribe.
And the real secret to self-control, making bad cues invisible. Plus, making good habits irresistible through temptation bundling.
We dug into finding the causes of bad habits, not just fighting symptoms.
And the importance of consistency, walking slowly but never backward. the never miss twice rule,
Making habits easy with the law of least effort and the 2-minute rule to just get started.
automating good habits, and using commitment devices to make them inevitable.
Understanding the cardinal rule of immediate satisfaction and the power and pitfalls of tracking.
The boost you get from an accountability partner, playing to your strengths based on talent and personality.
Staying motivated with the Goldilocks rule of optimal challenge.
And finally, remembering the downside, the need for reflection to ensure habits don't become prisons.
It really is a comprehensive framework.
Mm.
And the message feels empowering you, the listener. Now have this blueprint. You understand the mechanics of habit formation.
You really do have the tools now to consciously engineer your habits, to make the good ones feel natural, even inevitable, and the bad ones fade away.
And it all comes back to the everyday, doesn't it? Transformation isn't some mystical event. It's the sum total of those tiny, deliberate choices you make again and again.
Day after day, that's where the magic happens, in the consistency of the small things.
So as we wrap up, here's something for you to think about. Considering everything we've unpacked today, that profound impact of just a 1% shift, what single tiny habit will you choose to start, maybe even today, as a vote for the person you truly want to become?
And maybe also reflect on your own potential valley of disappointment. Knowing it might come, how will you lean into consistency, embracing imperfection to push through to the other side?
And one last thought. Take a look around your environment right now. Your physical space, your digital space, even your social space. How could you audit it, tweak it just slightly to better support that future self you're building, habit by habit?
Lots to ponder. It's been great diving into this.
It really has. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the hidden power of atomic habits. We hope you found it valuable.